again, and welcome to the Sports Box, where the only opinion that matters. Son of a... Right here! Man,
I don't really have any response.
I should have taken an extra Valium today.
I mean, you went a little wide left on that.
I did. Yeah. I am Mike Galetta, accept no imitations, a.k.a. Hamilton Mike, along with my partner Brian, the Ranger Tard, bring you another solid special. We just started up by talking today. Today we're going to bring you, and every Friday, our new special called Cleaning Up the Mess. It's going to talk about the Thursday night loser, about the losing team. We're going to bring our affiliate on to that team. We're going to talk about what they did, what happened, and, you know, that aspect. Today we have on the line, if you've been watching the Sports Box, our Carolina Philly, the man, the myth, and I can guarantee today he's not going through any kind of concussion syndrome like a lot of other Panthers are. Yeah. His name is Monty Fetty Jr. Monty!
How are you doing, guys?
What's up, my brother? Back on the line for Carolina. Let's talk some Carolina Panthers. Unfortunately, they lost last night 21-20. You can say a lot of different factors, but I will tell you, and I'll open it up, Monty, by telling you your boy Cam Newton took an absolute beating last night. I don't even know how he walked out of that stadium last night. Any feedback on that?
Man, again, like we were just talking about, it was frustrating. It was definitely very frustrating. Cam took, as you said, a beating. I think that's being nice about it. I think, guys, you know, I'm just trying to think back at when the last time I've seen a quarterback get beat up that badly and never get flagged, you know, and that's probably the frustrating part. You know, you don't see too many quarterbacks, especially in today's game, get beat on the way that he did yesterday, and no flag happens, or the one flag happens gets counteracted by a intentional grounding flag. You know, I think it was definitely a bunch of bad and questionable calls or no calls for that matter. You know, that definitely was changing the whole direction of that game yesterday.
Yeah, you want to talk about, I know Cam Newton, the competitor that he is, big quarterback, running quarterback, does take some chances here and there, but, you know, rolling out of the pocket a couple times, I mean, he just got hit. Like you said, especially on that intentional grounding call. He doesn't get hit on that. He doesn't throw that intentional grounding. I think that's not only a penalty, I think there's some other disciplinary actions for the guy that hit him. I think it was Brandon Marshall that hit him.
Right.
Yeah, and that hit him. He totally speared him.
You know, what I'm, I guess, is what's going to be real trying to see next is to see if there is any disciplinary actions that comes from the NFL. Even with, you know, looking back at the tape, it's clear. You know, they've taken a stance against, you know, helmet to helmet and the concussion protocol and just protecting their players. Man, it's clear. You know, some of these shots that he took yesterday were either late hit or if they were just playing their day helmet to helmet, and you know, it's wow. You know, it's very surprising to me that nothing happened.
Yeah. So Monty, obviously, tough way to lose. You know, anytime you lose a game on a kick like that at the end, especially after getting iced, you know, it's definitely you know, not ideal. But
Gano's a hell of a kicker.
Yeah, no, I was surprised that he missed it myself. But you know, I guess a couple things you can take out of that game on the positive side, even with the loss. I mean, you know, and we talked about this in the fantasy preview. You know, the home teams in these Thursday night season openers, I think, are 13-2 now since they've been doing this format. So the home team does normally win. That's kind of the way it breaks down. You know, we had said that Kelvin Benjamin was a bit of a question mark. Well, actually, he was one of my fantasy sits this week, but he proved me wrong.
Yes, he did.
You know, he came into the game. He was supposed to be on a snap count. That apparently didn't materialize. How good do you feel about what you saw from him in his first game in over a year?
You know, that probably is the brightest part of yesterday's game with me. I was I'm not going to say excited because I've been saying all off season that I thought Kelvin Benjamin was going to have a great breakout year again. I'm there with you with the snap count. I was probably more surprised about how many snaps he actually took than his production on the field. I think, you know, I've said it since we drafted him. He's just a matchup nightmare, yo. It's 6'5", 250 or 240, I'm sorry, and can move the way he does. That's going to give any secondary nightmare, and to do it on against Denver, you know, one of the best secondaries in football. You know, it's to me that if I'm leaving that game as a Panther player or even as a fan, I'm very excited to see what we have in Kelvin Benjamin as long as he can stay healthy.
You know, and on the other side of that, I think a lot of people thought this might be a really good year for Devin Funchess coming back after last season, but only 4 targets, 1 catch for 9 yards, really a non-factor. Cam really was looking for Kelvin a lot. Which really wasn't what you would have thought would have happened the way the week was leading up. But defensively, they didn't appear to miss Josh Norman that much. You know, Kuechly had a very nice game. I don't think that they had a couple of turnovers there early, which I'm sure got them going. What were your thoughts on the defense up against the quarterback making his first start in Trevor Siemian?
But Trevor Siemian had a great game, you know, and I think our defense was a little. Actually, I'm not as happy with our defense as a lot of people are. I think Luke and TD, of course, had a great game, but you know, when don't they have great games? You know, just to be fair, I think as a whole unit, though, I think we actually dropped the ball a little bit. You know, we got gas and run, you know, in the run defense all game. You know, C.J. Anderson ran on us all game.
That he did.
The late fullback, I can't think of his name right now. That broke that long.
Andy Janovich.
You know, it's like stuff like that. It's heartbreaking. Especially coming off the year that we had and bolstering that defensive line, it was rough. that's the best way I can explain it. It was rough to watch. You know, we caused the turnovers, and which I do credit our front 7 for. You know, I think both turnovers were caused by the front 7. But man, to have one guy single-handedly beat you is definitely a rough thing to see.
You know, it's funny, he brings up Janovich. It almost reminds me of Jirovicius. 1 catch each in the game, and both catches killed him. They both scored in each one. It's amazing.
Right.
You know, Monty, what I find, 2 things I found shocking, well, not as much, but C.J. Anderson last night running for 92 yards, they made him, and sometimes in the patches that he ran, they made him look like Marshawn Lynch, which I thought was pretty shocking. But on the other side of that, I thought the Carolina Panthers coming out in the second half and really being conservative like they were. I mean, they didn't get a first down until almost midway of the 4th quarter. I mean, I don't understand the game pattern there. They were real aggressive in the first half, and then second half, like Brian said, you know, you didn't see Funchess that much. You didn't see Ted Ginn Jr. You didn't see Olsen until almost late in the 4th quarter. I mean, what was the conservative rationale there? What are you thinking there?
You know, and I'm telling you the truth. I think it's been just known for Carolina when we get a big lead or a lead at all. We go into our conservative game plan, which I think is, you know, which I don't agree with at all.
Right.
I think, if you look back at the Seattle game, playoff game last year, we did the exact same thing. You know, first half we ran the score of 31-0, and then came out and completely let them crawl back in the game. And you know, and if we're to be a contender in this league, that can't happen. You know, and I think that's more than once we've proven and we've shown that that's what we allow to do, is we allow teams to fight and keep themselves in the game, and that's going to hurt us. You know, I think what we got away from in the first half is still mind blowing. I think that Cam was so focused on getting Kelvin Benjamin in the game that I think that he completely. He just didn't use his other option. Even Olsen, I believe, wasn't correctly used the best way he could have been used, even with his 7 catches. You know, I think Funchess was, like you said, a non-factor. Ted Ginn, a non-factor. And if we expect to be a contender the way that I believe we can be, so those guys are going to be very, very important in us being a contender.
You know, it's got to be a strange feeling for you there, Monty. It's only their third.
That's all right. Little disco on the show doesn't hurt.
Listen, we're equal opportunity with the music.
Hey, I should have got up and did some dancing or something.
Nobody wants to see that.
No, well,
nobody wants to see that.
Maybe I could kick it a little bit, like the old school.
Monty, you still with us?
I'm sorry. I lost service there. I couldn't hear you.
No, yeah, that's okay.
We're good.
It's got to be a strange feeling waking up today. Only the 3rd loss the Panthers have had in the past 12 months. I think it's an interesting dichotomy. But you know, on the upside, they do host the Niners next week. That's probably going to be a win if I had to take a look at it.
Better hope so.
Yeah, I don't see 0-2 in their future. That's for sure.
Man. I think, like I said, coming into the San Francisco game, I think we have a bunch of stuff to work on. There's definitely a bunch of stuff to improve on. But again, I wholeheartedly expect us to get back to what we're used to with San Francisco. San Francisco's defense isn't anything near Denver's defense, and that's what I think so many people forget, and so many people are losing sight of, that we literally just lost another game to the best defense in football.
That's true.
You know, and we lost by a point at that to the best defense in football. You know, and not many teams are going to have your Von Millers, your Wares, your Akeem Khalid's, you know, your Chris Harris Jr.'s. Not many defenses in football period are going to have that many guys on defense that, you know, that can affect so many parts of the game. You know, I think at the first half we did a great job in blocking Ware and Miller, but second half didn't do a good job at all of blocking them at all. And you know, I just don't see us repeating that against San Francisco, especially with San Francisco's defense. Yeah. And knowing San Francisco's quarterback situation next week, I think we'll be fine. The only part that makes me nervous is our secondary. Our secondary has looked shaky all offseason, and we've seen yesterday, even with that one interception by Benet Wickery, that our secondary isn't elite. And where we haven't been elite in our secondary for years, with Josh Norman back there, you know, I feel like we were more comfortable in betting with some of our blitz packages and stuff. Now, I'm not nearly as comfortable at all with having Bradbury out there and you know, Benet Wickery playing the way he's been playing.
Well, when you got I'm sorry. When you got a guy like Josh Norman back there that closes on people like he did, I mean, that's what really hurts that secondary. But you know what? I think all in all, like you said, Monty, that you know, you're going to lose a game 21-20. And I hear people say, "Oh, well, see, Carolina's got one loss already." Yeah, they probably lost to one of the best top 3 defenses in the league. And
absolutely,
you want to take out of that game that, okay, you had Trevor Siemian in there and he was a rookie quarterback. He said he had an okay game. I don't know if he had a really decent game. He'll learn as he goes along, but all in all, Carolina stayed the course, and they were still in up until the end of the game and just lost by a field goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
And just go off the back what you're saying is losing by, you know, that if they don't call that timeout late, Carolina wins the game. You know, even you know, we can sit here and talk about the bad calls from the refs and Carolina switching their game plan and the defense not defending the run as well. All of that being said, we're talking about within the last 4 or 5 seconds of the game, Carolina had an opportunity to win.
Yeah.
You know, so and like I said, without that, if that timeout is not called, Carolina is walking home with 1-0. So I think that all of that has to be accounted for, saying that Carolina is still a very, very dangerous team. I believe we actually more hurt ourselves than what did now. Taking nothing away from Denver. Denver played a hell of a game. Yeah. Siemian surprised me, and I believe surprised the nation yesterday. Because I just don't think anybody saw Siemian coming out. Even with his turnovers, I didn't think anybody saw him coming out and just playing the way he did. He played like he's been in this. He's done this before. Yeah. And I think that definitely that needs to be credited to Denver and that offense. Yeah. But Carolina still from everything that happened last night, still put themselves in great positions to win, and we just have to capitalize on those. And I believe coming later on to the season, we will. Well, that's just the confidence I have.
The last thing I have, Monty, for you is like you brought up the timeout thing. I couldn't believe how the time management was terrible by Carolina. Yes, I mean they blew through the team. Man. They blew through the 3 timeouts before almost the second quarter was halfway through.
Isn't what preseason's for?
That's true. I completely. I'm glad you hit on that. I completely forgot about that. That's probably one of the bigger reasons why we saying we shot ourselves in the foot. It's quite frustrating to see the MVP of the league not look at it, not knowing when the time clock is running down.
Well, he keeps getting hit. He keeps getting hit like that. He better hope he survives the season and better worry about MVP. I mean, he took an absolute beating last night. So.
And of course, and maybe that is one reason why him not paying attention, him being worried about Vaughn coming down and laying it on him. But it's still that in playing in the game of that stature yesterday, everybody's looking at you. This is the Super Bowl rematch. Stuff like time management and stuff shouldn't be the reason why we lose the game, or shouldn't be one of the reasons why we're coming out of there 0-1, and that's exactly what happened. You know, the time, like stuff like time management is something you practice over all off season. And again, I know it's the first game of the season, and where I'm still inclined to believe that we're still in great shape to be a deep playoff team this year. That stuff like that has to be corrected, and I believe corrected now, or it's going. Oh man, it's going to be a long season for us, man.
Well, I unfortunately I hate to say that we want Monty on the show every Friday when we do this Clean Up the Mess show, because that would be bad for him. But here's a guy who talks about Carolina. They lose the game, and I'm fired up for Carolina right now. Even though I'm Bucs fan, hey, he's got me on the Carolina wagon. Attaboy. So that's all I have, and that's all the time we have for the Sports Box. I want to thank Monty for coming on the show quickly and spontaneously, and brother, always a pleasure talking to you. And I gotta ask you, do you have a concussion? Are you okay? Everything good?
I think I passed the protocol this week.
Attaboy. That's what I like to hear. But no, Monty, seriously, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me again, man.
Absolutely, it's always a pleasure, and it's always a pleasure to do some shows for you here at the Sports Box. Keep an eye out; we've got some good stuff coming.
And of course, you can follow us on Twitter at SportsBox Show, like us on Facebook, and for great content just like this, make sure you're following us on the YouTube channel so you get everything hot off the press when it's ready to go.
Now, I know, Brian knows, and Monty better know by now that the only opinion that matters is right here at the Sports Box. Thanks for watching, folks. See ya!
Don't forget to subscribe.